Like one girl literally wrote, how do I feel confident on top during sex? I don't like my boyfriend looking at me, so I put a pillow on his face. That makes me so sad because you're a goddess, okay? I don't know what you look like, but I don't need to know what you look like to tell you that you're a fucking goddess.
1, 2, 3.
What's up everybody, it's your favorite YouTuber, the spiritual bad bitch. My name is Anila Sita. If you came to this channel, then you're fucking lucky that you finally got here. If you're back to this channel, then welcome. I hope you're doing good today. Today I'm gonna be answering your nasty questions. This video is so different to the stuff that I usually talk about, I guess, but you know I am multifaceted. I got lots of shit to fucking share, lots of juice. So I received a lot of your questions, which are here, and I'm gonna be answering them now, including the ones that you also put on my YouTube post. So I have received a lot of questions, like virgin questions, and I just want to say that I feel like this whole video, I don't really touch much on virgin stuff, but more like sex as a whole. So do stick around. Even if you are a virgin, there's gonna be lots of insights in this video for you. I just wanted to make sure that I kind of answer everybody's questions. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. We are going straight in with the motherfucking sauce, which is how to give good head. So this is actually something that your girl has been complimented on many times, all right? I really hope that none of my family members are watching this video because that would be so fucking awkward, but I'm here to help my girls out. How to give good head. Here's the truth. The first and main thing in giving good head is you want to enjoy it. And now this is the thing, if you don't enjoy the idea of giving head, then I recommend you don't do it. But don't lose hope, because I have friends personally who also told me they don't like to give head, and then when they met the right guy, they were like, oh my god, tell me sis, how do I do this? And they actually felt excited to because they really liked the guy and they wanted to give him pleasure. That's the number one thing. Now, as to how to actually do it. So my mother told me this thing. I have a very honest and trusting relationship with my mother, and it's gonna sound really fucking difficult. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if that's exactly what I do, but it kind of helped me understand the technique, I guess, better. Let me just get a water bottle. So what you want to do is, if this is it, all right? You want to use pressure with these fingers when you're like going up and down, because the way you want to do it is you want to use a hand or two hands on there, or you want to use just your mouth. But I would recommend, if you're especially like new to it, to also use your hands, because I have a few techniques, all right? So my mom told me to put pressure with these two fingers, like these ones, as in like, you know, these are the ones that are like massaging, like imagine it massaging. And then these two, you just sort of like slide them along. So you don't press with all of them, you just press with like these and then sort of softly slide those along. That sounds so fucking complicated, and I'm not saying that you have to do that in order to make it feel good, because truthfully, I feel like there's not even a specific technique. It's, again, the main thing is if you enjoy giving pleasure to someone, then you're gonna find a natural way that works for you. Now, what I want to say though, whether you're somebody that has given head before or not, you want to make sure that you open your mouth enough that your teeth are not touching it, which is where I say make sure you go slow. And if a guy is fucking pressing your head, somebody actually asked that question as well, fucking tell them to stop. Don't be afraid of saying something, and take your time and be slow with it. Now, another thing that I was going to share from this Tumblr post is you wanna tease, okay? Like, you don't wanna go in straight away. Imagine the way that it feels when a man is touching your body, and when he goes straight to the coochie, it feels not so good. Whereas if he's like touching your legs a little bit, if he's touching your stomach, he's touching like the surrounding area and not going straight to it, you're gonna be a lot more aroused. And I feel like it's the same for men down there. I've had an experience where if you kind of just start off, you know, slowly like swiveling your tongue on the head of the or you like run it up and down before you take it all in. Like, just have fun with it, you know? Now, the last thing I was gonna say about giving good head, you're kind of just like using your mouth, then naturally you're not gonna be able to get all of it inside your mouth. I mean, unless you're like a fucking legend and you can do that. But for me personally, I don't really enjoy putting it all in my mouth and doing like deep throating. That shit doesn't feel good to me. What you want to do is you want to use your hands as a extension of your mouth, and the way that you do this is you make sure that what you are doing down there is super sloppy and wet. So use loads of spit. The more spit there is, if your hands are like right by your mouth, it's gonna feel like your hand is literally an extension of your mouth, and that's how it's gonna give an illusion for a guy, as if you're doing it all with your mouth. Does that make sense? I've given like a fucking whole TED talk on how to give a BJ, but I hope that was useful. Next question, how to feel comfortable in your own body. This question has actually come up a lot. Somebody else asked how to feel confident as fuck naked. I'm gonna be answering a few questions in this one because it all kind of connects to the same answer. Insecurity about body hair, please. Ladies, how do I say this? You're a fucking goddess. Okay, you don't need to do anything in order to be sexy. The way to love your body, honestly, for me, it's a journey of becoming more confident in yourself. So I made a video called How to Be Sexy, and I would highly recommend you check that one out, because really, in a nutshell, what I'm saying in that video is the way to be sexy is to be confident in yourself. And the way to be confident in yourself is to learn to own yourself. And that's something that nobody can do for you but yourself. There's a lot of shame in this world around a woman's pleasure, a lot of shame around our sexuality, because a lot of it is catered to the masculine. Even like magazines, it's always how to please a man, but it's never how to please a woman. So subconsciously, there's a thing in all women that we feel like we don't have the power, and we feel insecure in ourselves. But trust me, this is a new time right now for us to be alive, where we are fucking stepping into our power. And the way that you do it is by recognizing you're a fucking goddess, okay? If I want to give you a concrete tip on how to be confident with your body, start learning to love yourself. And if you struggle to do that, for me, it's working out. And you know, the thing is with working out, I'm not trying to put out a message here where I'm like, oh, you need to lose weight or you need to tone up in order to love yourself. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's more so that working out gives a subconscious energy to your body, that you care about it, that you're willing to work on it, and not because it needs to be better, but because it's simply better for your health. Also, working out naturally makes you feel irresistible. It just does. I've had so many people ask as well, how can you be irresistible to a man? Somebody asked, teach us how to snatch a man's soul. Somebody asked, what's the most sensual hot thing you can do that is not commonly associated with sex? So many questions about this, when really, trust me, the answer to all of this is learning to develop your confidence. And you know, again, there's no quick answer there. That's something that you're gonna have to work on. But like I said, for me, it's going to the gym. I got a lot more confident when I started going to the gym. Take my advice and start going to the gym. It will make you feel so much better. Now we're gonna do worst sex story time. This is so awkward to be sharing on a YouTube video, but I'ma do it because you guys want the juice. It's probably my top #1 worst sex story. I was in Sicily with one of my friends and ended up meeting this guy when I was really drunk at the beach at a party, and he only spoke Italian. He barely spoke any English or Spanish, and so I spoke to him in Spanish because I'm half Spanish, and he would respond in Italian. And initially we were just like making out and stuff, and I think on my last night in Sicily, I was at his place in an apartment that belonged to his parents, and I was with my close friend who was getting with a guy of her own in the same apartment, literally in the next bedroom. I was in his parents' bedroom with him, this Italian guy. There were fucking Catholic statues everywhere. I mean, it was such a religious bedroom. So already awkward setting. My friend is literally getting railed in the bedroom next to this one. I knew intuitively I didn't want to actually have sex with him. I just wanted to, I guess, do different things. But I'm somebody, I do feel sex is sacred, and somebody actually asked that question as well. So yeah, that's your answer. Yes, sex is sacred. I might touch on it more in this video. So I didn't really want to do it, but my friend was doing it in the next room. I was just with him in the bedroom, and then we were kissing, and then he started saying to me, come on, sex is such a beautiful thing, why not do it? And I was like, I didn't really want to, but I felt really pressured into it. And I was very disempowered at that time, mind you. That shit would never happen to me right now, because you're looking at a bad bitch who knows how to say no. I ended up doing it, which, oh my god, worst thing ever too. If you don't want to do it, don't. Because your body down there, it's like a flower. And if you don't want to do it, it's gonna close up. And it's gonna fucking hurt so bad. So that's kind of what happened to me. It started really hurting, and we were using a condom. You know, there's a scene in a movie called Love, Rosie. And trust me, this is part of the story. In that movie, she has sex with a guy, and then the condom literally gets stuck inside of her. And I remember when I watched that movie, I was like, that would never happen in real life. Like, that's just something that would happen in movies. Guess what? It happened to me in real life. The motherfucking condom goes inside of me. I don't really notice that it happens. I just noticed that the feel of, you know, it going in and out of me was starting to feel a little different. So I instantly stopped him and I was like, where's the condom? And he starts looking around on the bed, and then I'm like, no way, it can't be inside of me. And then I kind of reach in, I don't feel anything, and then we're looking around, and then I reach in again even further, and I fucking pull it out. And you know, in the movie Love, Rosie, she ends up getting pregnant. So I knew I need to fucking take a plan B the next day. For some reason, I was so disempowered, the story gets even worse, that I continued going with him, as in putting on another condom. And then when we're doing it like in doggy, which is basically when you're, you know, on your stomach and he's doing it from the back, he starts putting a finger in my butt. Oh my god, I literally screamed out loud and was like, no, no. And this is where it got so awkward, because there was a language barrier. I mean, I'm sorry, but no is pretty universal, but he kept doing it. And then I was like, I don't want to do it. In Spanish, I kept saying, but he just wasn't getting it and just kept doing it. Really disrespectful if I actually look back at this story. He was such a sweet guy who was actually very intelligent and was studying chemistry in fucking Milan or something. That situation was so awkward. I promised myself I'm never gonna do it again with somebody that I have such a language barrier with, because that shit's just fucking uncomfortable. That's the worst time. Okay, now let's talk about coochie farts. Somebody asked this one as well. This question has come up a lot actually. When your coochie makes a sound because of the air. I don't really know what happens scientifically, but sometimes you can be in positions where it makes a weird sound. Let me give you some advice. So first of all, I feel like the best reaction is to just laugh if that's what you feel to do. Sometimes also it helps to listen to music while you're doing it, or to just be so into it and like kissing, and when there's other sounds, the attention won't even be on that sound, you know, like I wouldn't worry so much about it. And somebody even wrote, how do I stop hating myself for it? Honey, don't hate yourself for it. That's what your body naturally does. Like I was saying in the beginning, there's a lot of shame around women's sexuality. Ask yourself, in a situation like this, if a man was like, you know, having sex with you and his D made like a sound, I highly doubt that men would feel shame about it. Like they would just continue to do their thing and be turned on, because for them it's like it's just natural. Like whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. I feel like that mentality really helps me to not feel any shame about it. Now, somebody also asked about it being awkward. How do you not have it be awkward when you're in it? And if I've ever laughed, somebody asked as well. So the answer to question number 2, have I ever laughed? Yes, I have, many times. In fact, when I lost my virginity, I was in a lot of pain and I was laughing all the way through it because I didn't know how else to get through it, and it really helped. As for it being awkward, I feel like it's only awkward when you allow yourself for something to be awkward. So number one, I would also suggest don't get into bed with somebody unless you feel very sexually attracted to them and you genuinely want to do it. Something I will say is I wish I would have more times in my life not had sex unless I genuinely felt a connection to a person. But oftentimes when I was a teenager, I was too horny and I just wanted to have certain experiences. Answering the question, what I'm trying to say is the way to avoid awkwardness is to make sure you feel comfortable, and that is often either through intense sexual attraction or really liking somebody. It's not going to be awkward if you really like somebody, and if it is, it's again just coming into confidence. I've noticed like so many people have asked like how to be a sex goddess, how to make a man weak to his knees, chakra technique that gets every dude weak, like all these questions. Listen ladies, it's by recognizing your inherent power. I feel like I've only been having a divine feminine awakening in the past sort of months, but I've always been somebody who was confident in herself because of, I guess, the fact that I went to the gym, the fact that I focused on the qualities in myself that I do like, opposed to focusing on the ones that I don't like. I feel like as women, we do this thing, we compare ourselves to other women and it makes us feel less than. But actually, it's like, you're fucking amazing just as you are. You're fucking beautiful just as you are. And the way to make every guy weak is to recognize that and to be confident. Again, it just comes back to that same question that I was asked in the beginning, and me basically telling you now, if you want to make a man weak, go watch that video that I talked about how to be sexy. That's literally the nutshell of it, is just confidence. Literally, all the men that I've been with, it's not that I do anything special. It's just that I'm very centered in my confidence. I don't feel the need to prove anything to anybody. Do I sit here and talk about myself like I'm a bad bitch? Yes, I fucking will. But it's not coming from an energy of me needing that confirmation from anyone. Whether you think I'm a bad bitch or you don't, I don't give a shit, because I'm still gonna like myself. So I think it's about coming from that place of loving yourself. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you. When it comes to sex, I'm very good at knowing how to please a man. I'm very good at all this, you know, giving hacks for good head. But something that I'm learning myself, and this is me being completely authentically real, is to actually indulge in pleasure myself. So when you guys ask me how to have an orgasm, for instance, how to feel comfortable on top, these are things that take time. Initially, I didn't feel that way either. Like one girl literally wrote, how do I feel confident on top during sex? I don't like my boyfriend looking at me, so I put a pillow on his face. That makes me so sad, because you're a goddess, okay? I don't know what you look like, but I don't need to know what you look like to tell you that you're a fucking goddess. Understand that this is like, again, the power of a woman. Ladies, you literally give life to this world by carrying a baby in your body. How miraculous is that? You are the root of life. Think about how many men go crazy for coochie. Back in the old days when women were sort of covering up more than they are nowadays, it's like if a woman pulled up her skirt and would only show like her leg on the road to get like a car, when she was like going like, you know, when you go like this to get like a car on the road, men would just stop instantly, because it's like, oh, that's a woman. All right, so recognize that power is inherent just because you are a woman. Don't look at me right now and think to yourself, but sis, that's not me. That's maybe you, or that's maybe this other girl I see on Instagram, or that's somebody like Rihanna, but that would never be me. Yes, it is you, because you're a woman, which means that inherently you have that beautiful energy that is so irresistible. So it's just about tapping into that energy and recognizing that it's just a part of you. You don't need to do anything. You just need to learn to welcome that energy and to let it flow through you and to let it come out in all your actions. How to feel confident on top during sex, to recognize your inherent power and to realize that you're a fucking goddess. Okay, now I want to get into how to feel comfortable receiving pleasure. A lot of people were asking like how to receive head and also how to tell a guy that it wasn't that good without hurting his feelings. If I'm being honest with you, this is something that I've struggled with myself, and I've noticed that it's kind of a journey. Something that really helped me, particularly with the last person that I dated, I noticed that the way to communicate that something isn't right for you is by phrasing things in a way where it is not about him personally. Because the moment you go, well, you're not good at this, you're just gonna hurt someone's feeling. Because our natural sort of defense mechanism as a human being when someone criticizes us is to go into defense. Whereas I've noticed in any relationship, the best way to communicate something is to say, I feel this way. So this is how I did it. I simply said, I haven't been feeling connected to myself during the act. And also I struggle to have an orgasm. So I've communicated this. And again, a lot of you might be thinking like, is that really what I need to do though? Like, that's scary to admit something like that. But understand that on the other side of fear is that pleasure and excitement. If you keep holding back, you don't say anything, you're just wasting precious time in your life where you could be receiving pleasure because you're too afraid to speak up. And I think that this is like a journey that a lot of women have, and including myself, you know, like it's difficult as a woman to be in your power. But what I've noticed is with the last person I was dating, I really liked that he suggested, well, why don't we masturbate in front of each other? And that was something that was super fucking vulnerable for me. I was like, I don't know if I can do that. I'm like just being real here. I know I might give off like sex goddess vibes, but I still have things to learn on my journey myself. And that's really being comfortable with my sexuality. I feel that that's something that takes time, so be patient with yourself. But I've noticed that this actually really helps, because after you do something like this, masturbating in front of each other, all the blocks go away. It's unlikely that you will feel super awkward with that person still after you do something like that, because I think that's a very vulnerable thing. But from my experience, this was really hot, and it really helped me to connect with my pleasure and also seeing him be with his pleasure, but then having that bounce back and being in control of my pleasure. So I think the way to receive pleasure is to get to know your body, and I found that this was such a great way to get to know my body. Another thing that a spiritual YouTuber called It's Baby J said, she talked about these things called yoni eggs, and it's basically like a crystal egg thingy that you put up your coochie and you meditate with it. And I've never done it myself, but I really want to. I've heard so many people swear by it to connect to your pleasure. Now, as for an orgasm itself, a lot of people have asked me like best positions to have an orgasm. One of them is when you're on top. It's actually such an easy way. If you don't want him looking at you, by the way, also lay your body on him while you're on top. And the key is to rub or clit, to rub it on his stomach or like his area down there while you're riding him. As for riding, oh my god, that's just like a whole video in itself that I'll get to in a second. But what I was gonna say, that position, I've had one orgasm before. Somebody also asked how to relax to have it because she's worried with a partner that she's taking too long. This is again that inherent shame that women have around their pleasure, and it's like, recognize that that's where it's coming from, something that's been programmed in the matrix for all women to feel that way. But it's the moment you recognize it's a program, you can also step out of it and be like, oh, that's where this is coming from, so actually I'm reclaiming my power and I'm gonna just take my fucking time. Because you know what's crazy is I heard stories as well of men who struggle to have orgasms, like even men, and because they didn't feel comfortable, even they felt shame in it too. And there's no need to feel any shame about that. That's just getting to know your body. And you know what, if somebody doesn't let you take your time, they're not the right person. I'm gonna be honest with you. Somebody who cares about you cares about your pleasure too, all right? Now the riding thing, oh my god, this advice, how to ride effectively, a few people have asked this. What you want to do is practice it with a friend. I know this is like so weird, and maybe you don't have friends that you could practice that with. If you don't, get yourself some new girlfriends. By the way, when I'm saying practice it with friends, I'm not saying literally sit on them naked and fucking ride them. I'm saying with clothes on. I was sitting once on a friend of mine, and then she moved my hips like this like she moved them in a way where I knew how to move my body if I was on top. And the way that you want to imagine it is like, it's like this is the motion that your hips are making, because the curvature of the D is obviously like that. So it's like, you know, so it's kind of practice. And a friend of mine said that actually her boyfriend helped her figure it out, where she was on top and then he moved her. Some people asked as well about hair down there and like the smell. So hair removal, I personally am not insecure about body hair. Of course, I don't want it to be like a bush because I'm not really comfortable with that in myself. And also if a guy like goes down on you, I feel like even me going down on a guy, fucking get rid of your hair down there. Like it's, otherwise it's just kind of uncomfortable. All the hair gets in your fucking mouth. If it's trimmed, it's really not that big of a deal. I don't know why we women have so much shame around this kind of stuff. For me, I think from experience, I've just seen that men actually don't really care that much as long as it's kind of trimmed. And actually, I used to read this magazine called Cosmopolitan, which has like these sex questions. And they even asked the guy, do guys care about body hair? And then he was like, no, not really. As long as it's kind of trimmed and not like super long, we don't give a shit. I actually have one guy that told me he thought it was really sexy because it's womanly. I was like, okay. So there's different opinions. But me personally, I do remove it all. I wax and do sugaring as well, which is like a type of wax thingy. And usually when you do waxes, you have to let the hair grow out again so that it can be waxed. So I don't shave at all, and I don't give a fuck either if I go to bed with somebody and it's like, you know, hairy down there. Now as for the smell down there, I've noticed if you take care of yourself, you drink your water, you're healthy, and you shower regularly, then your smell is gonna be fine and it's normal and there's nothing to be, again, ashamed of. I don't want to be a hypocrite here right now and act like I don't have that insecurity, because I do sometimes. But I will say it's something along this journey of, again, learning to accept yourself. I don't think it's something that comes from the one day to the next, but like I keep saying in this video, recognize there's a lot of shame programs in this world for women, and when you see that that's where it's coming from, it's very easy to step out and be like, oh, that's not really me then, because the real you, the real essence of who you are, doesn't feel shame. The real essence of who you are is pure love, pure joy, pure confidence. That's who you really are deep down. Now, something that somebody asked as well is, can a man fall in love with you in the bedroom? And I've heard stories of, yes, this happening, but I would say most times you don't make a man fall in love if you give him sex straight up. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I have all the answers, because there are maybe situations where that can happen and people are just meant for each other and it's like, oh my god, I'm fucking like in love with this girl. I've for sure had men that would tell me years later, never forgot like how good you were at giving head, you know? But that to me is not being in love with me. Somebody saying to me that they still remember how good I was at giving head, only image that they have attached to me that is so important in their mind is how I was giving them head. And personally, that's not something to me that I'm like proud of. I feel like I've changed a lot as well through the years and recognized that right now I don't really want to be remembered in that way, which is why for me at the moment I'm celibate. I don't want to have sex with anybody, don't want any one night stands, don't want any casual hookups. I don't even want to sleep with a guy who I potentially could go into a relationship with, because I've just done that so many times and then the relationship ended up falling apart. And it's like, why did I do that? Why did I give my power away and have sex with somebody who really didn't deserve it? I read this quote that said, before sex, women think clearly, after sex, men think clearly. And I feel like this is often the case, which is why it's very rare, in my opinion at least, that a man would fall in love after having sex with you. Often the opposite happens, he loses interest. And also you get very confused, because I heard that women release different hormones than men after you have sex. We release a hormone called oxytocin, which is an attachment one. It's literally the hormone that gets released for the connection between a child and their mother. So think that that's potentially a reason too why a man, you know, he releases more dopamine, and dopamine is like a pleasure hormone, neurotransmitter. So I kind of feel like just keep those things in mind, and I wouldn't fixate on making a man fall in love in the bedroom. I would fixate on falling in love with your fucking self and carrying an irresistible energy and being empowered in yourself, and then somebody will inevitably fall in love with you, because the world is a mirror. And if you fall in love with yourself, people around you will too. That's just a fact, all right? Now, I'm gonna just try to answer some quick questions now because I keep going fucking overboard. One here is best places to kiss a man during sex. So this is actually what I've read, like scientifically. So apparently this area is really sensitive for men, and I found it too that some men don't understand why, but if you're kissing them and you go here and you don't, like, they're very sensitive here. The neck, some guys really like it, some guys don't. Ears can also be like a real erogenous zone for some men. Kissing around the D, so like not the D but kissing around, that's like part of teasing as well, I feel, because you're kind of like making them fucking beg for it because you're like right next to it but you're not going there yet. Something as well to drive a man nuts is when you are making out with him and you say you want to give him head, do this thing where you make your way down from his mouth slowly there. So you start kissing here, 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 and you make your way down like his chest, his stomach, and then tease when you reach the D. Like, do it in a way where, again, you don't go in straight away, but you sort of make him beg for it. Oh my god, somebody asked as well how to know if somebody's worthy to have sex with. Easy answer to that question, you will feel it. If you feel good at the thought of doing that, then do it. And I know this might not be the best advice because some people might be like, oh girl, are you really gonna give that advice to people when you should be preaching, you know, oh, you should only have sex with somebody if you have a meaningful connection with them. Yes, I agree. It is smarter to wait till you have a meaningful connection with somebody to have sex with them. But I also know in myself that I was hella curious in my teen years, and I don't regret the fact that I had those experiences. I learned a lot from them. Quick way to know that you don't want to do it is if you have anxiety. If you have anxiety, and don't fucking tell me those are butterflies, because they're not. If you have anxiety, like that tingling feeling in your stomach, that's probably a sign of your intuition telling you that it's not right. Somebody asked, have you ever filmed a sex tape? No, I have not. Have I ever done anal? No, I have not. That's actually a real boundary for me when it comes to that. I've had guys ask me before, but that is not happening until my husband comes into my life. When do you go further when making out with somebody? When it feels right. Again, really go within. Learn to go within into your feelings, your emotions, and your body, and you will know. Somebody asked about swallowing as well. She said, I want so much to enjoy swallowing, how she feels disgusted by the act of it. Sis, I am with you on that one. You know, in the past, I think my first sexual experiences, I didn't mind doing it because I was all about a man's pleasure, and I was like, I need to make sure that he is happy. And now I kind of see I need to be happy, and quite frankly, I don't fucking want to do it. I'd rather spit it out. You can even tell a guy, can you please just finish like on my body instead of in my mouth if you don't want to do that. Please recognize, ladies, you have the power to say no to things. You don't have to do shit that you don't want to do. You can still be a sex goddess who is empowered. Like, don't think in your head that you have to do certain things. Even all the tips I was giving on doing a BJ, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Like I said, it's not gonna make you less sexy at all. Just be yourself and enjoy it. Now, somebody also asked, even after good sex and intimacy, why a man still leaves a woman? This is exactly because of what I was saying before about the different hormones that we release. Women release different hormones than men after the deed, and because men fall in love differently. What I've learned is men will fall in love with you during the time that you don't give him any sex. And somebody also asked, like, how long should you wait? And that is really up to you. I've noticed if somebody's intention is to fuck you over and they literally all they want to do is just to be with you in bed, but they're not interested in you as a person, then there's nothing you can do to change that. And then it's like whether you do it on the first date or on a date after 6 months, it's not going to make a difference because that person's intentions were the same all along. The real answer to why a man leaves from a spiritual sense is a vibrational mismatch, and that's that you are at a different frequency than this person. And it's actually so much easier to recognize that that's often what the case is. People have ghosted me as well because we were just not on the same frequency anymore. Like my best friend told me this too. She got ghosted when she asked the guy whether he was into astrology. And you know what? That's a motherfucking blessing that he fucked off after that question, because she saw what she needed to see. It's like, oh, he's not into astrology, so straight away it's like not on the same frequency. It's not personal. Nothing in this world is personal, and don't think that when men leave that it's something wrong with you. It's just part of an experience. Take yourself out of the victim mentality and recognize that it was a blessing that he left, and you can attract someone better and someone that is actually for your frequency. Someone also asked about the connection between like sex and spirituality, and I already kind of touched on this, but yeah, I view sex as very sacred. And you know, you have to think, as a woman, your coochie, it goes inside, right? Like in your body, it goes inside, whereas for a man it protrudes outwards. Is that a word? Protrudes? You know what I'm saying. And that means that like you are letting the energy into you. For them it's like outwards, it's different. So be very selective with what you let in. I am very selective with who I sleep with, even if it sounds like I travel around and I've been with all these different guys. It's really not like that. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say in regards to this topic. I really hope that you gained something from this video. I really try to answer all of your questions as good as I can, even the ones that I didn't call out specifically. I feel like I answered most questions in a general way with the questions I was answering. So I really hope that this helped, and I hope it makes you confident, and I'm sending you so much love and light.